Okay, so oxidation reduction reactions are an important class of chemical reactions, and many of the common reactions, such as combustion reaction, fall into this category. And so this video, we're just going to introduce some of the general terminology and vocabulary. So an oxidation reduction reaction, or what is often called a redox reaction, occurs when electrons are transferred from one species to another. So for example, when we react calcium metal in acid, in H plus, it reacts with the H plus, and the calcium becomes the calcium ion. So in going from calcium metal with 0 charge to a calcium ion with a +2 charge, the calcium is losing 2 electrons. That is to say, calcium is being oxidized in this process. Those electrons are not simply disappearing, but rather they are being taken by two H plus ions. So the H plus ions become hydrogen gas. So in the process, hydrogen is going from H plus to H2. It is being reduced. It is gaining electrons. So oxidation we define as the loss of electrons, and reduction is the gain of electrons. And some people like to remember this mnemonic oil rig. Oxidation is loss, reduction is gain. But we need to remember that this is of electrons. Now, in many cases, it's very simple to recognize these redox reactions because there's a change in charge of a metal or an ion. And we know that metals have a tendency to lose electrons becoming cations. This is, again, our process of oxidation, whereas nonmetals have a tendency to gain electrons becoming anions, which we call reduction. So we need to remember the difference. Oxidation is loss of electrons and reduction is gain. So this oxidation reduction process happens in tandem. That is, when one thing is oxidized, something else must be reduced. So, for example, if we have one thing that is being oxidized or is undergoing oxidation, it is being oxidized by something else. That is, this thing that is being reduced is stealing those electrons, or is actively taking those electrons in becoming reduced. And so we will describe, in addition to oxidation being the loss of electrons, we will say that an oxidizing agent is the substance that oxidizes something else. That is, it is reduced in that reaction, whereas a reducing agent is what is being oxidized. So it is giving electrons to something else, forcing it to be reduced. So these two processes of oxidation and reduction always occur at the same time or in tandem, and that's why we always call it that's why we often call it a redox reaction or oxidation reduction reaction.